Hey, YouTube family, and welcome to another video show, The Kevin Strong Show. I am your host, Kevin Strong. Today, we're going to have a unique topic, the dark side of coaching. More so on the business side, but this does apply to the personal side as well. I've got a lot of experience in this area on both ends, but specifically, I'm going to give you the perspective of a student and kind of talk about some of the pluses and minuses that's involved with coaching. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you, based on my personal opinion, whether or not it's worth it to hire a coach. So welcome to the show. If you're new, start off by doing two things for me. If you could, please smash that like button if you're enjoying the content. And think about subscribing to the channel because I do release my videos typically once a week on a Saturday around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so let's talk about a lot of things when it comes to professional coaching. Like I said, you can apply this on the personal side, but this is more within a business type of coaching environment. So before I get into the content, here's my background. I've been coached when it comes to credit repair and how to grow a 6 or 7 figure credit repair business. I've been coached for residential creative real estate type financing in the real estate industry. I've also been coached on commercial real estate and currently being coached for stock market, how to trade stocks and things of that nature. So those are 4 different components. So here's what I've noticed. I'm just going to bring up some nuances about this stuff. And then I'm going to go into some components of it. And like I said, at the end, I'm going to kind of share with you, excuse me, whether or not I think it's worth it. If you get into a group coaching environment, it starts to manifest itself, and it almost takes on a cult-like environment. This is what I mean. If you say something against the leader, everybody, aka everybody being the students, will just cannibalize your opinions, your thoughts, excuse me, because it's not in line with what the leader's saying. Not what I think should be done. The first thing you should do is examine the validity of the message. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Does this person have a valid point, or is it a teachable moment? But normally what happens in a group setting environment, anything that's in dissension from the leadership role gets cannibalized with everybody. For those of you who have never done coaching in that type of environment, just think about what it's like when you have your favorite channel that has a lot of subscribers, and then you say something against the host. What happens? All the comments start justifying why the host is right and you're wrong. If you don't believe it, just try it. Those of you who know me, I like to debate, so I'll float things out there and make really cogent remarks. And then sometimes people are trying to cannibalize my opinions. And other times I know I'm making a valid point and then I won't get a response. I'll give you an example. I won't name the channel, but this guy previously was talking about, people need to pay back their student loans. This is BS. It's a taxpayer burden. Okay, valid point. I don't have a problem with that. Move forward about a week ago, he's talking about Florida condos. And then he's talking about, wait a minute, all these special assessments are getting put on these people. These lenders are making money from all these people with all this refinancing. They're making money too readily available to people. They're making it easy for people to borrow money. And it's the lender's responsibility not to do that, to push back and have a little bit more stricter guidelines because people just can't manage all this debt. So I said, wait a second. You're going to tell an 18, 19, 20-year-old that they have to pay back $30, $50, or $150,000. They're not even fucking grown. Excuse my language. They're not even grown. I mean, legally they are, but come on. Especially from the male brain. I don't think the male brain fully develops like 30, 25. Girls on average mature a lot faster. But my point is, these are young men and women, but you want to hold their feet to the fire and say, hey, you signed on a dotted line. You have to pay back that student loan debt. Damn it. It shouldn't be at the expense of the taxpayers. Okay, duly noted. But then a month later, on the other side of your mouth, you're telling me that 30, 40, 50, and 60-year-old people who are taking out all these loans and these HELOCs and these second mortgages and buying homes that they shouldn't buy, it's not their primary responsibility to make sure they take on debt that they can pay back. The lender shares some of the burden in that. I find that very, very, it just doesn't make sense. So I digress. So that's what I mean for an example about, so let's get back to the coaching thing, because I don't want to get off on a tangent about that. But that's what I mean, like a cult-like environment. You can make a very, very strong point, but once again, not to sound like to beat a dead horse, if you're not making or saying the right things. So here's some of the aspects of coaching. Humility. You must be able to humble yourself. You cannot think you're the smartest person in the room. Accountability as well. These are traits normally that I found in groups and on personal levels, people tend to shy away from. We don't like accountability because accountability is synonymous with responsibility. If you hold yourself accountable for something and somebody's expecting a certain outcome based on a mutual agreement, you don't have any wiggle room. Most people will stay away from it. For example, hey, John, I need you to make 50 calls 5 days a week. That's 250 calls. Okay. And if you're doing that, your coach may not say anything the first, second, third, or fourth week. But by the fourth week, he says, hey, do you have any appointments? And you say no. They know it's bullshit because it's almost impossible for you to make 1,000 phone calls and not make some type of connection with somebody. Or you should be having a conversation with your coach about, hey, I was close to getting an appointment, but this person said this or that. And then your coach is going to intervene and be like, okay, you shouldn't have said that. That's why you didn't get the appointment. But if you say this the next time, that should push you closer down the sales cycle. Things of that nature. Accepting constructive criticism. Once again, these are qualities that you need in order to embrace coaching, but it's almost counterproductive to human nature because most people can't take, hey, you messed up. This is what you need to do to improve it, right? They're just not comfortable with that. They want a shortcut. They want a replacement for hard work. People who sign up for coaching think there's some magic pixie dust that they're going to spread based on the knowledge that they impart on you. And as a result of that, you're going to get a shortcut. All the other people, to include your coach, has taken, hypothetically, 20 flights of stairs to get to where they're at in their chosen profession. But you think by hiring them, you're not going to have to take that same path. You're going to be that outlier that only has to go up 2 flights of steps to get to that desired result that you're seeking. These are the games that we play with ourselves. One other thing, cognitive dissonance. I've talked about that in a video a couple of weeks ago. That's very, very prominent in coaching. You lie to yourself all the time. So here's the bomb drop. Here's the bomb drop. When you hear a coach that says 95% of you won't take actionable steps and put the principles and practices that we're teaching or that I'm teaching and sustain that long enough to see the desired outcome that you want. You have to be honest with yourself and say, am I that 5%? It's just like being in a live seminar room about how to become a 6-figure home flipper. And there's 100 people in the room. And then this so-called real estate guru comes out and makes this statement. 95% of you are not going to do anything. 95% of you will never buy a home to try to flip. You look to the left and you look to the right. Everybody in the room thinks it's the person next to them that's not going to do it. But if you really self-examine yourself, are you really that 5%? Do you have a history of being an outlier? If you don't sign up for it. Now, they're going to take your money. That's the other side, right? And I'm not bashing it, but that's the other side. If you're willing to pay and give them your money, they are willing to take it. It's going to happen. Trust me. Even though they know 95%, if not higher, of the people that's in their group are never going to do anything, whether you're on a monthly schedule or whatever. So you are wasting your money. They will tell you, the majority of you guys, they're giving you the answer to the test, but you don't want to have that introspective conversation with yourself to determine, you know what, I'm either not ready for this or I know I can't do this. I was in a group, and I'm not going to mention the person's name. He told me, this is a true story. He told me that somebody hired him for residential creative real estate financing, a one-on-one coaching. Paid him about $7,500. I don't have the exact dollar amount, but it was between $7,000 and $8,000. So let's say $7,500. The coach told me that I think in less than a month, he had to hound this guy down to make sure he followed up and met some of the coaching calls. And they would schedule coaching calls like weekly or bi-weekly to make sure this guy was on pace to hit some of these measurable goals. The guy who paid the money wouldn't even return his phone call. This is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot lie to yourself. You cannot lie to yourself. That's the biggest problem. People think it's a shortcut. I had a guy that was in a coaching program, a group coaching program when I was doing credit repair, and I'm not making this stuff up. The guy had a credit repair company for 20 years, for 2 decades, and has never had a client. Now, the IRS will typically say, hey, within the last 5 years, if 3 of the last 5 years were not profitable, you have a hobby. You need to move on and do something else because we're no longer going to allow you to deduct business expenses under this entity because you're not making any money. You're not generating any revenue. This is a very, very, very serious thing. I think for most people, they shouldn't do it because most people want to lie to themselves. I think most people want to lie to themselves. I think most people enjoy their friends, their circle of influence, telling them something that they're really not. I think the average person enjoys playing music and painting their nails as they're on the Titanic. That symbolic scene where they say, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure playing with you. And you're still playing music as you're getting ready to sink on a sinking ship. You just cannot make this stuff up. So in conclusion, my credit repair experience, it just wasn't me. I seen value in it. It just wasn't me. The residential side, there were some things about that. There's value there, but that's really tough. You got to really, really, really listen. If you listen to that person, there's definitely value in it. But like I said, the majority are looking for a shortcut. The commercial one was fabulous. I just got to the point where, for me, great guy, and I'd asked him, say, hey, do you know anything about, the stock market or something like that? And he's like, hey, Kevin, I have a guy that gets X amount of percentage from me. I don't know anything about it. And I really liked the guy. We connected on so many different levels. That was not cheap. That was a 5-digit coaching program. When I factored in what I paid for it, the software, all the supplemental things. So nothing bad about that at all. And now, obviously, I'm dealing with stocks because, as I've told you guys in previous videos, the efficiency of that is just so attractive. I like the fact that every day I can decide whether or not I'm going to make money or lose money. But more importantly, I get direct feedback. The stock market does not allow you to be delusional. It does not allow for cognitive dissonance. It does until your bank account drains. And it doesn't allow you to lie to yourself. You'll know every day whether or not that account is going up or going down. And you can't share that experience with anybody else because even if you do, it still doesn't remove the fact that it is reality. You can't say, hey, I'm a really good trader. I started off for $2,000 and 6 months later, I got $300. You're not making any money. It's just that simple. So it forces you to confront reality for what it is. And that's what I like the most about trading. So in conclusion, I know I kind of waffled a little bit, but I think for the most part, most people need to stay away from coaching. I think it's a waste of money, not because there's not value in coaching, because there is. The right coach with the right person can take that student and take he or she to the next level. But most people will spend their time and money convincing themselves that there's a shortcut. They confuse participation with progress. You ever seen that person in the gym that's there 4 days a week? They're always running, but 4 years later, you don't see a damn thing different about their body. but they're bragging to their friends and their coworkers, hey, I hit the gym 4 times a week. Well, why you built like a baker's dozen or a sack of potatoes, right? It's impossible for you to go to the gym that often and really put in the work. What a coach is meant to do in conclusion is to give you a bench pressing analogy. You bring it down here, and it's really, really hard. And everybody who bench presses know when you get about halfway, that's the sticking point. Your coach wants to see you bust your ass to the point where they can totally tell objectively you don't have an ounce left. And then they're going to tweak what you need to do to push that rep out, to push that rep out. So rinse and repeat. So you have to put in the work. The sweat equity is the prerequisite. That's what all coaches are looking for to see whether or not a student is worth their time. Like I said, most will take your money, but the ones who make it understand all of this: humility, accountability, accepting criticism, not looking for replacement for hard work. They're willing to put in that sweat equity. They're willing to just unload everything they got into something. And then coaches can innately pick up on that and says, here's a 5%, here's an outline. That's the one I'm going to pour into. And that's the one that gets the results. And then the other 95% go around explaining the coaching doesn't work. I don't get any support. Ask a bunch of questions on a goddamn Zoom call. But you haven't made your 50 calls a day. All this other stuff that stays away from accountability, people will engage in that ad nauseum. But the things that require you to be vulnerable makes people stay in the dark. This was the Kevin Strong Show. I hope you've got some insight. I hope this helped you decide whether or not, if you're thinking about coaching or taking up coaching from a student standpoint in your personal life or your professional life, this gives you some insight on how you should approach it, and more importantly, whether or not if coaching is right for you. Once again, if you have not subscribed and you enjoyed this edition of the Kevin Strong Show, hit the like button and subscribe. You guys make it a great week. I don't have any stock picks this particular week because I haven't done my research. I'm actually filming this on Friday. So next week, I'll promise to have some stock picks for you. And those of you who follow me on Facebook know that I put things out throughout the week. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you later.